Thank you very, very much, Gary. Oh, seem to have ourselves over the top of ourselves unless I'm monitoring something else. Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah.
That's really appreciated.
I just realized that's the first time I've watched it all the way through, probably in maybe as many as 10 years. It was from 2008.
I saw. And what was the Ogen, that's eyes in Dutch, or?
Yes.
Yeah, Ogen.
Yeah.
And
mijn tweede taal is Nederlands. My second language is Dutch. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it took me to lots of places, you know, and it recalled different places, and I think the visuals were very inventive, but it also would have been a good one to just also close your eyes to as well, and really meditative.
Right.
Was it all done with I know I heard the sounds I heard, and tell me if I'm wrong. So I heard that sound when you've got an old amplifier and you knock it and it goes.
Yeah, all the sounds are electronic.
Oh.
And actually the sounds existed before the films. Before the film, I was teaching for years in Ohio at Oberlin Conservatory of Music, and teaching music technology. And this piece started with a completely different idea. I had he's gone. Anyway, I had a student and I were working on laptop orchestras. And these are very popular in the States. They're probably all over the world now. But you have a local area network and you just pass messages back and forth between the laptops. And originally this was based on the game of craps, the dice game. So there was a little graphic screen where you would roll dice and you would make bets. And everything that you did was passed on to the next person in this circle of the laptops. Mm-hmm. The only thing they didn't know was how much money I had left. And so they could take the data, you know, whatever I rolled, how many times it took me to make my point or to lose. But once I lose, then they get to roll. And we've never did it more than 3 laptops, but if you got them in a network, you could theoretically unlimited. And then they would just take the data and they would create their own synthesis program. And sometimes not even on the same operating systems or software, but they just take that data and use it to make pitches and rhythms and things like that. And so the soundtrack to this was from a performance between my student and I in 2008, 2009. When I retired there, they had a big homecoming of students and former faculties, and a lot of people performed, but we recorded this one. And then the film itself, I've always noticed when I go into galleries that people spend a lot more time on an image that has a human face and particularly prominent eyes. And my theory is they're looking for themselves, and then they'll go next to an abstract one and kind of zip by it. And so the idea was just to gather as many images of eyes as I could find, just finding them in places on the web, and then animate them with software. So they start as a still, and then you can warp them or do things with the colors and so forth. And all the ideas of the animation were musical gestures. So an eye would appear and it would do something and it would phrase and then it would come into a cadence. And so it's just basically a very old musical idea applied to graphics. So that's pretty much how it was conceived and how it was done.
The sounds were what were from that workshop with the students. This is some of the sounds that were created in that.
Yeah, in this performance, Nick was creating sounds on his computer. I was creating sounds on mine, and then they were mixed. And so I can't distinguish his from mine anymore. But they were similar kinds of sound, well, musical phrases. And And I'm not sure what would happen when we did the 3. It was just actually too much sound. There were too many things. So I think it's a duet ultimately. But all that software doesn't work anymore. The operating systems are gone. So I don't know that we can ever do this again. But
I think
I
that
still use the same animation software. Yeah.
I think that very much fits in with the question that's come in. That's what software, or did you do the image manipulation animation in, or was it custom?
The visual software is some old versions of software from a company called U&I Software. And the images were done with something they call Artmatic, which I think is a horrible. It's not automatic. It takes quite a while to form it. But it's basically ways of either creating kind of abstract images or geometric or whatever, and then transforming them. And it works with keyframes, just an old idea in animation. You create a keyframe, and then you modify it in some way, and then you save it as the next one. And then as you play it, it fills in things. And so they're little functional boxes. So the simplest one is you put a picture in there, and you can stretch it this way or rotate it. And then down below, on the interface, you see some sliders. And if you move the sliders, it changes the image. And then the animation is simply as you go from here to here, it's moving those sliders on all the little functional boxes. And I always think of it as, in fact, when I talk about this process, I relate it to DNA in a funny way. So DNA involves a mathematical model of it. So you have all of the parts of the DNA and their numbers, and then when they breed, the child gets a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And so the positions of the sliders are just big array of numbers, and as the sliders move, it animates. And again, the company is called U&I Software. And so the Artmatic made the keyframes, and then I made short movies, and then they had a kind of a montage tool. You can just bring them in and say, I'm going to play this one at this speed, and then I'm going to crossfade to this one. Or I'm going to, I think I probably had dozens and dozens of short films that were probably no more than 30 seconds to a minute each. So each time you see a change in the theme, I think if you watched it again, you would very clearly see that there was this thing transforming into this thing, or sometimes it was zoom out or zoom in or leave the screen. So those were all kind of just subjective. That looks nice, I'll keep that, so forth. So it's very logical, rational, coming from one direction, and very, very much, I like it, I'll keep it. I don't like that one, it's gone. So it's that part is very traditional in making art. The other part is mathematical, although I'm not really great at mathematics.
Oh, it's a fascinating blend. You mentioned when we were chatting earlier that you wanted to give a bit of history on the piece itself and mention your student. I mean, are you happy that you've had a chance to fill that gap in as much as you would wish to?
I'm gonna. I've got it off the side here, and I changed the. Oh, maybe I can go back.
No, it's fine.
Oh, here it is. Yeah, his name is Nick Williams, and again, this is from 2007. So he must have graduated around there. So he's probably in his early 30s, and I think I've reconnected with him. I made a Facebook page for my old department, and there are about 400 former students out there.
Oh, fantastic!
Some I've never met. They've come and gone since I retired. I think I've summarized each what all was going on.
Oh, that's great.
And the sound was made on my part was made with Max.
Okay, I was wondering if that was going to come up as part of it. Yeah.
It's with the MSP. Well, I think that was probably all driving MIDI synthesizers. I'm pretty sure it was.
I mean, that tends to be easier when doing sort of laptop orchestra stuff, doesn't it? Because you can then send simpler data rather than.
Yeah, but the laptops now are capable of doing very, very
absolutely
complex things.
Yeah.
And I think parts of
2008.
Max have
Yeah.
yeah, you could do the graphics, all these graphics in Max now too. And I've done a few things lately where I've done another have a film called I don't remember the name of it now, but there's another film that has it's on the page. I think did I give you the page? Here, let me.
You definitely. Oh, here it is. We have Rob in charge, and it's along the bottom now on the screen. Is that the one?
I just added one. This is the main entrance to my web page at Oberlin, and then you get in there and you'll see right away. You'll see 3 films across, and Ogen is one of them. Actually, it's Ogen.
Oh,
it's easy. Dutch are kind of. And then there's another one called Progeny. Is one that was globes kind of floating around. That was made entirely with jitter, which is the visual part of Max. But I use a lot of different kinds of software. No software actually does everything I want to do. So,
if I didn't
jump around a lot.
You know, if you hadn't told me now that this is where it comes from the software, I thought it was a musical bowl that you'd recorded and sampled. This one of those, lots of those.
Yeah, yeah. For synthetic sounds, I tend to choose the ones that are more like acoustic instruments. And I've even done a piece that has it's synthesized and it's called Death and Transfiguration. And it's based on the tone poem by Richard Strauss with the same name. I manipulate the notes in the tone poem and then use bassoons and vibraphones and strings and things like that as part of it. And then a bunch of photographs of things that are dead and dying in nature, you know, leaves and stumps and things like that. That's also on the page. There's a link that says 8 films or something like that. And those films are all from that same decade, from about 2000 to about 2008.
Fantastic.
And then I have more recent things, but you know.
No, it's definitely one to dive into. Yeah. Does anybody have anything else to want to add before we move on?
We have Temporal Comet says such immersive sounds. Delia Derbyshire would be proud, and it's good that he mentioned that because I also thought of that. I thought this very much reminds me of Doctor Who, early Doctor Who soundtracks.
Oh, right. I thought that name was familiar from the BBC.
Yeah, Delia Derbyshire. She made the Doctor Who theme.
Yeah. I actually toured. Yeah, I actually toured that when I was teaching in London in 1990. And we went over and toured that. I don't think she was there anymore, but yeah.
No. Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, I think I'm a big Doctor Who fan.
Yay!
I'm a bit of a feminist, so I like the new ones where Doctor Who is a lady.
Yeah, the Kraken.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, there I think we probably should wind it up and move on to other people before we end up on some random wormhole on Doctor Who, as we're about to